Welcome back to another episode of Spiritual Teachers. With me today is one of my spiritual teachers and Theta Healing in Theta Healing, and her name is Yve Hart. And it's such an honor to have you on today, Yve. Welcome
Thank you
on.
for the opportunity, Peter.
Yes, thank you so much. So, Eve is a healer through light, lineage, and love. She's a California native and comes from a lineage of shamanic healers, channels, mediums, and seers. Her devotion to the healing arts and the evolution of her family practices began in the early 90s, and she has since become a highly seasoned multi-modality healer, integrating the gifts of her ancestors and new ways of the present, fully committed to her path. Through her walk with the stage 4 cancer through the medicine wheel, she has developed herself as an alchemical and spiritual guide and medicine woman. For the last 20 years, she has gathered men and women in circles for healing, cleansing programs, ceremony, drumming, and rites of passage in person and online. Eve has attained masters in various healing modalities, but has been able to birth her own methods. She lights the torch of remembrance to your divine connection that sparks the light in your heart as we all contribute to and play a part in humanity's awakening. What an amazing intro. So yeah, this is awesome. We have so much to talk about today, and some of the topics that we may cover, because everyone knows how this podcast goes. Sometimes we go where spirit guides us, but some of the topics are cancer as a spiritual teacher, theta healing, sweat lodge, santeria, hape, entities and entity removal, the alchemical wheel, and shamanism. So I'm super stoked to dive into it today with you, Eve.
Me too.
Awesome. So would you be open to sharing how your awakening journey started?
Absolutely. So, um, in I was born into a family. My grandmother was Cuban, and she is or was a spiritista, which is a shaman. She's a transmedium channel, meaning that she would bring in her spirit guide, and it would completely. She would speak through my grandmother, changing the tone of voice. She even had a cigar, because the guide smoked a lot of cigars.
Mm-hmm.
And I was brought up in this family where there was Catholicism, there was shamanism, there was seances. My dad didn't believe in God. Catholic Church, as the Cubans came over, they came over when Castro opened the door, my mom's side. A lot of them were Catholic, but my grandmother definitely practiced as a spiritista, and it's
Mm-hmm.
different from Santeria. We could go into that later. But I was born not very healthy, and part of it is my mom always thought she was cursed. And I think that had a lot to do with like over medication and things like that. So I had a lot of near death experiences as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And because of I feel like I was so sensitive. I would see spirits, I would see entities as a little girl. I remember those near death experiences. And, I just closed my heart off to the world because it was just too much, too dramatic. And around 19, I had another health opportunity. Little did I know it was Epstein-Barr virus, mono, um, chronic depression, chronic fatigue. I I partied really hard. I went to school, I went to work, so I was overtaxing my body.
Mm-hmm.
And in that dark space, I was able to call in my mentor. I wanted someone outside of the family to show me the way. So I literally prayed out loud and it said, I want someone that works with love because I was pretty much tired with working with my mom sending me to Santeria ceremonies. I didn't believe that was in the light as much as maybe it didn't resonate with me the way that they were doing things. And so my first mentor came on, and I went through intense cleansing and awakening. I literally woke up, moved out of my house, and started my spiritual healing arts journey
Mm-hmm.
through energy work and healing, Reiki and cleansing, and just started awakening to I have all these gifts. And I really enjoyed having these mentors outside of my family that are pinnacle in my healing journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so I studied a lot of different things. And I when I was introduced to Theta Healing, but one of the things that they speak about is always asking for permission to be able to change something in the subconscious or unconscious, to what are we going to resolve and change, transmute, and what are the programs that we're bringing back in? What are the new programs that we're ready to receive? And I really liked that because my trauma with healers and shamans in my life that would work in the worlds, in the underworlds, and come into my dream space, and they would start shifting energies and trying to heal me. And I would see those things. I would call them up and say, I saw this ceremony. I saw, I saw everything because I could see in the dark. And they would say, yes, your higher self wanted me to do these things. It was a trigger for me because my mom always tried to, with ceremony, with Santeria, with all these things, tried to instill her own, it's like control in a way,
Mm-hmm.
it's not with my permission.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, I shut off all even prayers coming my way. I wanted to be in my own bubble. So Theta Healing gave me that permission slip to work in this new way.
And it gave you your power back in a way, right?
Yeah, I felt safe working with this, making sure the clients felt safe. And so I received my master. I was a master teacher in Theta Healing. It was a 3-year journey, a very expensive journey. But, in those realms, you learn a lot about all the different spiritual modalities, but under a different veil, I felt like. So we're working with Akashic records, ancestral beliefs. We're working with all these things on a different angle. You're working with spirit guides. And so it's just under the veil of Theta Healing in their own perception of it. So it was like really great retraining. And I realized that there's so much coming through for me that um, I need to listen to my higher self and source, and to serve myself and others outside of modalities, because modalities kind of put a roof over your head. You can't really, it's like your family egregore. If you don't leave your family, it's like when you graduate college and you still live with your family and you don't take that, a lot of kids go traveling around the world, or they try to find themselves,
Right.
and it's out of the confinement of the egregore, the family system, that collective consciousness. And so breaking free from the collective consciousness, that's when true healing started coming for me, just receiving the gifts that I know I am, bringing them in from other lifetimes, bringing in new light codes. And I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017. And so the interesting part is before cancer, I had Epstein-Barr virus episode on a chronic level. And a lot of people are experiencing that right now. But the doctors give them the co-infections that come with Epstein-Barr to work with. So people don't really get to the root. I figured out my mom went through this path, and that's why she was always over medicated. No one gave her the correct diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And in my prayer room, I asked, what is this all about? And I heard it's about working with ancestral beliefs. And that's when I got into Theta Healing. I started working deeper with ancestral beliefs, deeper with those tools, although I was already on that path. I was already working with an enormous amount of different healing modalities before then. So when I was diagnosed, I was like, why me? I'm like, I'm leading 100 people on the 40-day green cleanse program. I lead an online course, and it's not only a cleanse, but it has spiritual components to it. I don't use chemicals, don't use perfume. I'm meditating, doing yoga. Why is this happening where all of a sudden I have a cancer diagnosis? It
Mm-hmm.
was, my ego was blown away. My family and my friends were like, oh my God, if it's happening to her, it's definitely happening to me. They were, I'm not eating like she does. It was quite an opening. And it was around the time where my mom was passing away. So it's that shock and trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was I was like, I don't trust the Western medical system. I'm going to Mexico to heal. And the journey's been extensively long, extensively hard. I've through breast cancer, then stage 4, I would heal it. I would go back to stage 4, heal it, miracle healings, working with the master teachers. There are all these little turning points in my all near-death experiences brought in new healing modalities, interesting, working with the light codes, working with the masters in an evolved way. And so it really humbled me and humbled my path. Taking time to pause, rest, go into where I call the West, the medicine wheel, um, working with the medicine wheel. When you go into the West, it's the death's door.
Mm-hmm.
It's going into the cave. It's going into that pause, and even canceling programs or clients, or just taking care of me and listening.
Mm-hmm.
And so I realized that cancer would bring in fire. I was walking through the fire. I was going through those death doors. I was working with the ancestral doors, and then rebirth again. And I just would go through that wheel and go through it again. And so it's almost like this walk that I was so conscious of eventually, when I took fear out of the way and I was just really present, because the diagnosis is um, one of the most life-threatening breast cancer diagnosis. It's not, I don't want to say regular breast cancer, but it has estrogen. It's estrogen fed. That means if there's any kind of worry or fear or um, it's like the hormones react and feed the cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So practicing being super still, practicing being cutting those cords away, working with energetic cleansing. And I realized that after 2020, after COVID, the tools I had before then weren't working anymore. People would come to our home, we call it the Temple of Healing Arts. We host groups here. We have a temescal, a sweat lodge. We do ceremonies of various kinds. And when people would come here after COVID, they would leave all their junk and negative imprints here. It's like the negative spirit guides or whatever entities would linger. And I would wonder, because I would cleanse the home before, cleanse the space after. And I just had to upgrade again the tools to
Mm-hmm.
be able to work with people so it didn't affect me. So a lot of times where people are going through a health opportunity, whether it be immune issues, which so many people have right now because of our food systems, if you live in LA, things are dropping from the sky. What are we eating? There's genetically modified foods, the meats I don't even want to talk about. There's so much that is poisoning our lands and our bodies, our minds, our immune systems. It's on overload. And
Absolutely.
so it's like, okay, how do I work with this? So I started working with the Hawkins Scale, David Hawkins, and I was already a dowser working with clients and myself on upgrading consciousness levels. So I started gauging people or where they are in the before a ceremony, before a healing, and I would measure them after. And the
Mm.
increase of consciousness, being able to seal that auric field, their energetic, spiritual body, their mental body, physical body, with light and new codes, reprogramming these people to step out into the world more authentic.
That's
And of
super
course, I did that
interesting.
with myself.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's super interesting to me. How uh, I'm so curious. How do you gauge somebody's consciousness? Is it mostly dowsing? Like for those people that don't know what dowsing is that what you use for that?
I use a pendulum and I use uh, specific phrases and to be able to gauge where they lay on a wheel. And I use the Hawkins scale to kind of teach people this is what that means. Fear and shame is actually below fear. And that's how the other beings in this planet use mind control and black magic. They keep us in shame, they
Yeah.
keep us in fear, right? So
Mhm.
if people come in on a really low consciousness, we work with that fear wherever they're landing on the scale, belief systems. And once you release that and receive new ways of downloading that information, you're creating new neural pathways.
Mhm.
The brain's actually reconnecting, kind of like how mushroom does it. It shuts off a certain part of the brain, reconnects to the part of the brain that we've never used before.
Mhm.
And so now they're able to feel what that feels like in their body, to be in a higher consciousness state. 500 on the scale is unconditional love, and beyond that's enlightenment. Now, if people are raised to a higher point on the scale, that doesn't mean that they're going to get into their car, drive to their family, have a fight with their husband or wife, and their consciousness levels can drop. And so, what we want to do is give them tools, right? I give them tools to be like, oh, I don't feel like I was, you know, in that healing session. How do I recalibrate? How do I, you know, cut cords or whatever tools are given to be able to create that bubble again where they're in coherence instead of that fear or fight or flight in their body. And you can
Uh,
only heal when you're out of fight or flight. And
For
so a
sure.
lot of people come to me with autoimmune or cancer or whatever relationship issues and things like that, all different types, but everybody has their we all have like that teacher, right? What is the teacher we're working with? Is it divorce? What triggers, what's that trigger? Is it divorce, loss of job, financial insecurity? And this to be able to access the higher self. And I work with the Council of 12 for that being, that person that comes in, and to reconnect them to those beings of light that give them that support. A lot of times, cancer and autoimmune is lack of support, not being able to reconnect to um, that light. And and hey, you could still have an experience cancer and connect to the light and your beings of light, your Council of 12, but be kind of like eyes wide open and trust on the path that whatever you're learning and whatever you're experiencing is perhaps letting go, letting go, letting go, and surrendering even more to your higher purpose, living each moment as it's your best, making sure that you're living your life on purpose and with the right people. I always call in the right people at the right time, and the most aligned opportunities come my way every morning. That's my prayer. I'm
Mhm.
always knowing that I'm at the right place at the right time,
Mhm.
like we are here now. I'm hoping to share this story so people that so many people are diagnosed with cancer. So many spiritual teachers are diagnosed with cancer. And I hear it all the time. Yve, can you share your story or help me? Or I want to share that this is what I'm experiencing, but I don't want my clients to know. I don't want the friends and family members to know, because I want to preserve my image.
Mm-hmm.
And it is true, like cancer can um, weaken that um, maybe power or message that you have as a healer. But I feel like no, it's actually this access point. So this master teacher that you could call whatever your healing journey is, it's a master teacher of awakening. You're
Mm-hmm.
walking with this beautiful teacher, as not claiming it as yours, but outside of you, so you can always stay on point on your path. And that's why the medicine wheel is so important. A lot of people tend to skip parts of the wheel. Many
Mm.
people want to go into rebirth really quickly. I've been there myself, where you're bypassing stepping into that sacred anger, medicine wheel. We call it the south, the fire, and it's the high noon sun. And it's where Kundalini is reawakened, but it's also a station of sacred fire. And because fire burns, if we're feeling out of control, if we're feeling like too much fear, you'll be burned by the fire. And people don't want to move inside. It's that emotional unraveling.
Like shadow
And
work, right?
yeah, and you're doing more of like that realizing or witnessing of how you're being in the world, like how you're projecting your anger and projecting your pain, even though maybe they're suppressed,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where we have to voice that sacred anger in a more conscious way and access help. And that's a big thing for me because I'm always like the person that helps other people. And so for me, it was a big ask for me to ask for help. And thank goodness Theta Healing gave me a global community of healers. And they don't just work in Theta, they work in many modalities, and asking for help to support me. Not maybe I didn't resonate with everything, but it's that support that I called in, and the right people at the right time. And then that internal processing, that pause, the darkness, going into the shadow work would be the West. So the next stage on the medicine wheel is is the West, the dark cave, the sacred pause, the death door. You know, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times in the sweat lodge, the Temescal, the death door is the most hot. And my husband and I lead these ceremonies, and we have no control over how hot these volcanic rocks, we call them abuelitas or grandmothers.
Mm-hmm.
We have no control. We could have the biggest abuelitas inside the lodge thinking it's going to be super, super hot. And maybe the smallest ones are the ones that emit the most heat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just what the collective inside the lodge needs at the time. But a lot of times that third door, the death door, is that it's almost like, oh my God, am I going to suffocate in here, die?
Right.
It's it brings up a lot of fear. And when you go through and pass through that door, you sit with the ancestors' wisdom. Like you carry the wisdom of the ancestors, the North. We call in the white buffalo, we call in the white eagle, the North, being able to guide us, and so we could walk with the wisdom, and then be able to rebirth. It's like that in between bridge between that rebirth again and the East.
Yeah, and I've had full on ego deaths in the sweat lodge
Oh,
where,
for sure.
I feel like I'm gonna die because it's so hot and I have a hard time even breathing. So like I've had moments where I just lay down on the ground if there's enough space, and I'll put my hands over my nose and just like breathe the earth because it's a little bit cooler down there. And I remember one time I was just laying there and it was like, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna pray for everyone I love. Like this is how I go. This is what I want to do. I want to just pray and send love to all the people I care about. And I made it. I made it through. But like there was a part of me that died that night. That fear, that worry of death. That for so many people, especially like we saw during COVID, it's like that is one of the biggest fears that people face is death.
Yeah.
and so yeah, like facing that was really powerful for me on several occasions. And yeah, I love how you said it doesn't matter how big the rocks are, because what the people in the lodge need is what they're going to receive, no matter how big the stones are, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's that listening that we listen to the elements while we're in the lodge. We listen to when more abuelitas need to come in, when more water needs to be poured, and how the prayers that are offered and the songs. And so it's all about listening and connecting to that higher. There's beautiful guides and guardians of the lodge, and including the people that come in, they have their own guardians and
Hmm.
guides that they can access much clearer when they release and let go of that fear. And that's in life. If we have fear, we really can't access that higher part of ourselves that's connected to source. And I always explain to clients and friends and people that come to ceremony, we don't allow ancestors that are a lower consciousness than unconditional love in this
Hmm.
space,
Hmm.
because sometimes your mother, father, grandmother can pass over, and perhaps either it's the way you access them, doesn't mean it's true for them, but they might not have a consciousness that is ready to guide you in the highest place.
Hmm.
They might be still in personality somehow. And so we call in the higher realms, the higher beings of light, your higher self, your council of 12. And um, different master teachers can sit on that council, and they can rotate. So some of them, say Archangel Michael takes the back seat because Saint Germain wants to come in.
Hmm.
You're working with the alchemical flame of, the violet flame,
Hmm.
perhaps in a ceremony. So you can have those switches happening too. And a lot of people want connection and they don't really know how to work with these guides and teachers. And so that's where we start working with upgrading their consciousness, and working with ancestral healing, working with a lot of people are now actually speaking about ancestral healing now, which when I was doing it, nobody understood it. So I'm happy that people are ready and ripe and they understand that we, as children of our parents, are meant to evolve our family line, not as a punishment, not as a sacrifice, because that is why children are born on the planet, to evolve, to evolve, to evolve.
Hmm.
And we have elected our parents or a family line so we can learn the hardest lessons, right? So I had such a hard relationship with my mother all my life. It was one of my rite of passages.
Oh
And,
yeah.
mother father wounds for
Yeah.
everybody.
Hmm.
Working with the inner child, and especially with women that are now speaking, this is the divine mother, divine feminine, how to work with that master teacher, not as someone to follow, but someone to embody, walk
Hmm.
with,
Yeah.
because she wants us, just like Jesus, Christ consciousness. It's not something outside of you. It's you already are the light. You are that. You are that reflection of light of of the Creator. You
Hmm.
are a fabric of that light. And how do we mother father from a divine awakened, divine mother, divine father? How do we nurture our inner child? And that's so disconnected from this Western world, as we live in a very unhealthy, um, masculine structured, uh, I would say, all the structures that are put around us, all the rules, all, we're not really in our feminine, our divine feminine. Especially women and men are coming into, what does that mean for me, working with that divine feminine in myself, and working what is divine masculine. It's not control, it's sacred power, but it's not force over anyone. And you see that playing out in the world. You see it trying to survive, trying to maintain control of the population. And so some people say when they're diagnosed with a health issue or cancer that I'm trying to fight for my life. And I don't think so. Like, that's the fight that we've been programmed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unhealthy to fight something that's a teacher. Consider it a teacher. Consider it. Cancer is just a lost, it's lost, it's confused. It's also trying to survive. It's not trying to kill anything. It's how we work with this alchemy inside of us, that we can let go of the fear. And what you said, it's like I really had to work with the fear to be able to surrender to death.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can keep surrendering to death while we're in this waking life, I think that's the whole purpose. Is one of our purposes is surrendering, that we will go when we need to go, and it is not a bad thing. So many people lose loved ones, and what they posted on social media, I lost someone to cancer, or I lost my dad, or whatever, and people are like, I'm so sorry. And I never say I'm sorry. Why are you sorry? This is the journey. It's a
Right.
journey that we take. You're going to go there too. And I would never want somebody to feel sorry for me if it's my time to go.
Right. So I'm really curious, where are you with that journey now, and what did really help and shift you personally with the cancer?
So I went through so many different out of the box modalities that it's countless. Um, and things worked for me at a certain point, and then they didn't. And so it was always in this, like, in the medicine wheel of the West, in that sacred pause where I don't know where I'm going, and whatever worked for me is not working anymore. And that could really be fearful. And it was just a deep listening, a deep allowing for something else to come in, and working with those light codes came in really strong for me, like really downloading from the healed self part of me, working with my already healed self, because we're multidimensional beings. And I don't say yes or no, I'm cancer free or not, because it could visit me at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've healed it miraculously, I'm like, I'm totally clear and free. And then it just started, I started experiencing it again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in a place where I'm just living, I'm on purpose, I'm on my passion, and I'm completely surrendering every step of the way. And I know I'm guided. I know I'm here to do what I need to do. And it's a blessing.
So these last couple of rounds, facing it, what what did help the most? And
It's
what would you suggest for people that are facing cancer and these later stages of it? What are some of the tools or suggestions that you would have for them?
I have a program called the 40-day green cleanse. I really love um, that for me and the thousands of people who have been through that program. I'm revamping it right now to put online to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm coming out with the muscle testing course so people could tune into their body's truth, because I feel like if I share what worked for me, people kind of go for it. And it's really like I want to help people access their own divine wisdom, their inner guidance system. I call it awakening your energy. It's a
Mm-hmm.
fun phrase, but awakening your inner guru, your inner guidance. And when you're muscle testing for things, like I put a whole protocol down, like maybe there's certain supplements and vitamins, maybe there's, certain foods, even it's a green cleanse. You might need something that's not green. You might need to have whatever, bone broth, for
Right.
instance. And
Mm-hmm.
so I explained that, you know, there could be so many modalities that help, including, Rick Simpson oil or um, working with hape, working with different plant medicines. But as long as we're accessing higher consciousness levels, as long as we're aligned to those modalities, it could be colonics, it could be working with ozone, it could be so many different, I have infrared beds that my whole family uses, um, trampolines, working the lymphatic system, but really going into that spiritual container and being guided, receiving. And maybe you're not receiving in that meditation, but maybe you're receiving from somebody's word of mouth. You see it on social media. It kind of sparks. And the more that you practice that, the more you practice that inner alignment, start putting a protocol. I do this for clients, but I want to, empower them to do it themselves. Like, write down what you're creating as your own protocol to healing. It may be Western medicine. It may be alternative care. It may be Reiki healing. It may be self-healing in many ways. There's the aspect of clean eating, no pesticides, organic foods, and green foods help alkalize the body, going into an alkaline state.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're putting all these things together, you're muscle testing your body to see what's a yes and what's a no. And I also introduce, what level of yes does this resonate for you? If it's only a 3 out of 10, then maybe not for you. Maybe there's something better. So consider, maybe there's a shift in what you're doing with this cleanse that will make it a 10 for you.
Right.
And so I want to empower people to really, I'm not a doctor, so it's in a suggestion, like take in those doctor's suggestions, take in the alternative care, but you are in charge.
Right.
You're the divine,
I
you
love
know.
that. I love that because there's going to be a different formula for different people and different levels of inner work and shedding of old programs, old beliefs, of the fear that we were mentioning. For everyone, it's going to be different, and those emotions, I believe, are what manifests as these things. These times
Yeah.
when we're in high stress and in the world today, it's like go go go, like hustle mentality, and it's like, if people aren't giving themselves the time to reset and relax their nervous system and to process old trauma and triggers, it's like it's going to manifest as something at some point, unless we keep clearing it out. And I believe that it's
Yeah.
all just emotions that are stuck. And I mean, there's more to it, obviously, but that's kind of where it starts, it seems like, right?
Emotional, it could be generational, it could be chemical. There's a lot of different things that could block people.
Yeah.
And the Temescal, the sweat lodge, we say Temescal because we bring in the energy, the Mexica, the Azteca, the South, versus the Native American lodges. To me, it feels a little more on the feminine, the songs, the prayers, the energies. And it's, walking the medicine wheel and really, really knowing where you're at, being okay with where you're at, and going into that lodge, really, really, asking for to release, that you're ready to release and you're ready to receive,
Right.
being okay with those deaths, working in ceremony. We've forgotten that we're so connected, all beings of this planet, their ancestors were connected to ceremony,
Hmm.
asking permission from the ancestors to heal in the modern way. That's what I had to do when I was working with my new modalities, is that I wasn't able to go to the next threshold without asking my ancestors for permission. They didn't understand that. They felt I was disregarding or disconnecting from my lineage, but it was more of like integrating and upgrading and creating this leap, you know, into the new, kind of like the Fibonacci sequence. We're always taking the past to the present and leaping into new places. And
For sure.
I've received so much clarity to and permission to from, and the Tata Pedro Cruz. He's a Mayan elder who did our sacred union in Guatemala in 2009. When he passed, he was someone that was very, very traditional in the Mayan ways, but also understood that sequence of you take the best of the past, you integrate it into the present moment, and it'll take you into that quantum leap.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of teachers that are wanting to be super in their authentic ways of the ancestral, practices. And that's
Yeah.
why I've never really took trainings on just working with, like, say, serving Maya cacao ceremonies, because I feel
Mhm.
like I love joining in those ceremonies. Those are my teachers. I love the way they do it, but I share it in my own way.
Absolutely.
I connect with uh, whoever I'm connected with,
Hmm.
and whoever is called to come to ceremony will, be the right people at the right time will come my way.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
okay.
I feel like one of the modalities that are is something that everyone could do. Armando, my husband, he's leading groups here, but breathwork is so important. Whether you do it at home, increasing that oxygen level, and just being in that state of receiving is so important. And lowering inflammation levels in the body is important when you're healing on any level. The amount of time that you can hold your breath for, it kind of gauges how much inflammation you have in your body. So if you can't hold your breath for a long period of time, so my bird is just wanting his attention right now. You can't hold your breath for a long period of time, you probably have a high amount of inflammation in the body.
Mm,
And a lot of go-getters, especially breast cancer, a lot of women who are diagnosed are overgivers, um, and doers, getting everything done, knowing how to do it all, as I was too. And, working within the construct of the system that doesn't work for our feminine to rise, creating a new way, a new walk, a new rhythm in our life, connected to the earth and where our physical body, where our emotional body and spiritual body, navigating through that awareness and being unapologetic about who cares. You just got to do what you got to do in the rhythm that you're doing it. And a lot of people don't understand that because they're so embedded in, you know, too much, doing too much all the time. And especially when you have a lot of, overdoers and givers experiencing cancer, their family doesn't understand, their friends don't understand, because they're going through their breakdowns and they
right.
feel, wait, maybe they're disconnecting from me, or I'm not loved by them anymore. And it's a whole revolution. Other modalities that are very helpful, I have a mat that I lay clients on. My whole family uses, people come into the house. It's an infrared mat with 25 pounds of crystals embedded. So it really gives you that negative ion, that grounding and rest, deep rest. And it's like a detox.
Do you know what brand or what are some good brands for that?
There's Thursage, there's Crystal Beds that sell these things. I know there's other suppliers. I use the Chi machine
Oh,
for
that's amazing.
lymphatics. It's using the spiral, the formation of eight, and it's moving the body. So the lymphatic system is moving, it's realigning the structure of your body, and when it stops, it sends this like energy. It's almost like acupuncture points. The chi just like, it's so vibrant and alive. So I ask people to hold the vision of where they're walking into when that chi machine, I don't know if they're actually selling it anymore, but I saw some on eBay for a client the other day.
Yeah, the Japanese ones are the best,
Sun Ancon.
and you can get them on eBay. That's where I got mine. And the chi machine, from what I understand, came from the monks, and they would oscillate each other's, like they would have them lay down on their back. They would oscillate their ankles, just moving them side to side, for like 5-10 minutes every morning. The monks would do that
Wow.
for each other, and then the Japanese were like, let's create this into a machine that can help people, and
Yeah.
they created like, I think the Japanese take everything, make it way better. So
Yeah.
it's awesome. I find that like 20 minutes laying on the chi machine is kind of the sweet spot,
Yeah.
because it allows for my body to start to like fully relax and unwind. If I do it for like 5-10 minutes, it just kind of starts the process, and I'm not like, I guess it's different for everybody, but for me, the 20 minutes seems like it really aligns all my bones, opens the lymphatic system. And then when I'm done, there's this vibration of all the like acupuncture channels and all the meridians lined up and opened. And I feel like the vibration and the buzz in my hands and my feet.
The
It's
chi high, I call it.
it's amazing.
Yeah. So you have a Sun Ancon.
Is that a brand?
The brand, yeah, Sun Ancon's original supplier. There's a lot of knockoffs out there that maybe have different like the different you could do it slower, faster, whatever, more aggressively but I feel like that Sun Ancon is that the original chi. I used to in the 90s when I was doing cleanses and getting on doing colonics, they used to put me on this chi machine before the colonics, and it just really helped, the colonics move, the elimination process move much better.
Oh yeah.
Either that or a trampoline that really helps the lymphatic system.
Hmm.
She had both, and that's when I was like, I need one of these in my life. There's the feeling you get of that deep relaxation state. So I do the chi while I'm on my infrared mat. I have an infrared dome, and so when clients come in person, I do a lot of online work. A lot of people aren't local, but if people do come in, that's something they lay on. But we do open it up for ceremony too. When they come in for healing, there's working with altars and things like that. Um, so there's times I've been into like the saunas and also the cryotherapies that are really good depending on what your body needs. Not everybody needs the harsh cold conditions, especially during different times of the year.
And
Um,
cryotherapy is like a cold plunge for those that are unfamiliar with that
I
term,
like
right?
I like going into the actual cryo machines. It's like a freezer.
Oh,
You
okay.
get into negative, I don't know, negative 200. I don't know how it's a lot. It's really
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah.
Way colder than jumping into a cold plunge. And I feel it's easier for me to go into that freezer than it is a cold plunge for some reason.
Interesting.
And I just have this spark of like, you know, oxytocin and like energy. And I just feel so good after that cryo session. So there's times where I go in there a month, like especially summertime, I'll go every day for a month.
Hmm.
Yeah, but there's just some times where it's that deep listening. I just need nurturing right now. I don't need things that are harsh.
Hmm.
Kambo was a big ally on my journey with Epstein-Barr, Lyme disease, and then after diagnosis with cancer. I feel Epstein-Barr is deeply connected to cancer diagnoses.
Mm.
And so many people don't understand how to work with that. So I always connect those two. And you need certain things when that's, you could have sleeping viruses in the body, and then you might get sick or you might get in a car accident and you might go through a breakup, and those viruses like Epstein-Barr could look so different in your body. And that's why I never understood what I was experiencing over and over. I would heal myself and then it would like flare again, and it looked different every time. So Epstein-Barr episodes looked so different. That's why people get the diagnosis of co-infections, chronic depression, chronic fatigue, diabetes, you know, even other autoimmune issues that they're diagnosed with, but Epstein-Barr is somewhat the mother of all of them. And so it's working with shredding. This bird is driving me crazy. He eats all the things.
Yeah.
So for Kambo, going back to Kambo, sometimes the person doesn't need intensity like that. For me, I did 6 ceremonies back to back every day. That's to eliminate the Epstein-Barr virus and Lyme disease that I had in the body. Also had the diagnosis of cancer. And it was like, wow, it was so great for Epstein-Barr and Lyme, especially. I ended up doing almost 40 within a few years time.
So 40 sessions or 40 points?
40 ceremonies.
Okay. So for those that don't know about Kambo, we have another episode where we talk about Kambo, but can you just give a brief explanation of what
So
Kambo
Kambo
is?
is an Amazonian frog medicine, and it's using the secretion of the frog. It's administered into your lymphatic system, so they burn your lymph. Little gates on your body. It looks like an incense stick. So there's small gates that they open up and administer the medicine. And when the medicine goes in, maybe I should have picked a different part of the house because he's going a little nuts. When the medicine goes into the lymphatic system, it's what you experience. It's a purgatory, so it's not a hallucinogenic type of medicine like ayahuasca or bufo or anything like that, but it dumps all the toxins into all the organs of the body, and then it flushes into your stomach, and so you purge those toxins. It's not like you're getting sick on the medicine, you're getting sick on your whatever. If it's heavy metals, it's adaptogenic, just like a mushroom would be for healing.
There he is.
It's adaptogenic, just like any other mushroom would be for healing. It understands where to heal you most. So for my husband, it was heavy metals. For me, it was the viruses and inflammation. And so a lot of people coming with mental battles that they're coming in with, it really puts you in a present state. A lot of people in the West, we don't like to purge. We associate it with getting drunk and eating a hamburger
Oh
and
yeah.
getting sick over the toilet. And
Yeah.
it's not like that, because you're coming in clean without food. And what you're purging is, it could be a spiritual purge, and you feel so much light afterwards,
Oh yeah.
so much alignment. It's a really strong medicine, and what they recommend is to do 3 within a moon cycle, because your first one, your body's just getting used to the kind of like, what the hell is this? The second
Yeah.
one, you're like, okay, and I'm going to breathe and be more present and, just surrender a little more. But the third one, you're really understanding the medicine. And there's like that deeper connection for deeper healing and surrender. It's you spoke about hape, that, you love it as your ritual as well. And they serve hape before. It's actually, Kambo and hape are legal medicines. And when it's served, it's administered through you could speak on that if you want to, but it helps to ground you in a place where you can just surrender to the medicine more. And they serve it before ayahuasca or different other medicines. And it just helps the person really, it organizes the energy in the body.
Yeah, I
And
find it
so,
like really opens the person up,
yep.
and it can even start opening the person up to the deeper healing that can happen with the combo.
Yeah.
And they work really well coinciding together. And yeah.
We do host combos. Sorry, we do host combo ceremonies. I'm not I don't administer it, but we do offer hape ceremonies in our own way with very small groups. And the hape is so different when you are in ceremony, and there's focused intention. We work with ceremony and altars before starting. The music is curated for every person. There's live drumming, and it's really beautiful. It really helps people access their light, in a way, and it's different than you and I doing it in meditation. So some people come in and they're like, well, we've done hape and meditation for 5 years now, but in the ceremony space, it's so different. You come in with a collective of people that are adding to, whenever you go to ceremony, right? That whoever's comes into that space, it's that expansion of consciousness that you create together, curating, co-creating together in that space. And it really is so deeply healing. And so I definitely use hape in my morning meditations, especially. I always call in my council of 12, my beings of light. I always call in my most healed version of self, thanking the plant medicines and the plant teachers, and just giving me the grounding that I need for the day. And the
Mm-hmm.
end, yes, it's a little boost of energy, but it's not addicting. I could skip days, skip weeks, even skip months, and not have it on my mind.
Right.
Like coffee, if you're addicted to coffee, um, it doesn't do that, at least for me. It's not an addictive place, even though tobacco is used.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it just depends on how much you can do it. If you're using it in reverence, um, yeah, I don't feel there's an addictive quality.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen some people be addicted to it, but when I dove deeper with them, they've shared that it's their desire to like be in that stillness, that moment of like true connection to source, and like they were just like craving that stillness, and it was giving them that. And it wasn't, I don't believe when that person shared it with me, it was actually to the tobacco. It was more so to that feeling of that connection. And
Right.
I've seen people addicted to mushrooms for that same reason, like wanting to
Yeah.
go into that realm and be in another dimension, and those kind of things. And but overall, from the people that I know that work with it regularly, there's that people take breaks for many months, and there's no issues. It's not like, I look at it as like I'm going into a sacred ceremony with this. It's not tobacco. It's a prayed over sacred medicine that people in the Amazon really put a lot of intention and love and energy into, that now I'm able to work with and help clear myself. And for me, it's been amazing for moments of trigger, or like moments where I'm out of my center, and it really helps me to clear out anything I've picked up from others, or clear out old parts of myself that are no longer serving.
Yeah. And if you use it as a crutch, where you got to believe that you have that access to that light and stillness as well, and use it as a teacher. How do I access this, plant medicine without having to use the plant medicine? For instance, someone had an ayahuasca experience on the hape ceremony. She and I said, well, we just called in the spirit of ayahuasca. Didn't have to take the medicine.
Right.
We just, there was a song sung when she was being served that was calling in the spirit of ayahuasca. And that was, that connection, reconnection, and remembrance. And she said she felt like she was on a ayahuasca journey.
Hmm.
And, we have access to these spirit guides, the plant allies, without having to consume them. Mushrooms, they continue working even in between doses if you're microdosing, which is an incredible plant ally for people right now going through mental illness, going through depression. It's shutting off a part of that brain that it's almost like that thumbprint that, it's like we only do this thing every day, especially when you're aging. You see the elderly doing the same thing, eating the same thing, going on the same, my parents did it, I see that as an imprint, and they don't know how to think outside the box.
Right.
And so it helps us reconnect those neural pathways that's never communicated before. And, we're starting to think outside of our normal personality, looking outside our box and reconnecting those, new patterns in our life, walking a different walk that's more aligned to who we are in that moment. And do we need it every day? No, because those little mushrooms, they're connectors. They continue to work their work as long as you work in reverence with it. I think it's not abuse. It's not too, that's the difference between addiction and plant medicine, alcohol or drugs, even marijuana or any medicine. I've seen it with all of them. If you're trying to escape something, that's an addiction, and that's not
Right.
using it at reverence with
Exactly.
reverence. And if you're really on the path of awakening, you're doing your work in between, you're integrating those moments, you're integrating what you've learned with the plant teachers and plant allies, you're seeking help. If you don't know how to access, ask for help, go to a healer, go to a therapist, do some journaling, reconnect to the people that matter, start cutting cords to the people that drain your energy. It's like that's the work you need to do between these, when these teachers are here for you, you got to do your homework. And
Yep.
that's why I see clients like on a package of 8. It's like, I could do this healing, but I want to know how you're integrating the work and how you're walking your walk.
Right.
And are you able to keep your consciousness high? And when you get triggered, you might get lost again. And I'm here to help you access that path for yourself that you want to walk on, that you've created for yourself. And how do you continue to stay in alignment with that? It sometimes takes a guide, a guardian, to help you get through the medicine wheel again, get through those dark passages, sacred anger, and the death doors.
Yeah, even if it's just an accountability partner, that I've found is huge, because then it's like, okay, there's somebody that is looking out for me, somebody that cares about what I'm going through, and that is helping just hold the space for that person to move through whatever they're moving through, and just reminding them of their light, reminding them of that higher frequency, that that they're just holding that space for them to come back into that, because there are really challenging situations that happen in life. People pass on, different illnesses, that all kinds of challenges, right? And sometimes that throws people off their center and onto a little detour. But people like yourself and myself, I find that it's important for those people that are kind of taking a little detour, maybe going back to some old addictions and things like that, just to remind them, like, we got a responsibility, and it's way bigger than just us now. It's like we got to do our own healing, and then we have a responsibility to show up for others and be of service and really live in our purpose. And sometimes people can kind of forget, or maybe stray off the path a little bit, but even that is there to teach them something.
Yeah, we're on a path of remembering. And I always say if we work on the mother wound and then we find ourselves with another mother wound again, it's spiral evolution or spiral healing. We're in a different place. We're more conscious than before. And we come with so many programs. Like maybe there's people that come in with needing to heal, right? And maybe they believe they can't heal, you know. And so it's like working with those programs. And when we're more conscious and aware, we take the unconscious or subconscious programs into the consciousness. When we're triggered again, now we're more conscious about the thing that triggered us, the mother wound, father wound, whatever it was, and we're able to move through it much more quickly. If we, we have to realize that we've worked with this before, and now we're in a different place with it. Our
Exactly.
egos wants to be. I was there. It's like, not another mother wound. I've worked with this 30 different times, and I don't want to look at it, until it just keeps knocking at your door.
Right.
You got to look at it, because
Right.
it's not the mother anymore. It's a girlfriend. It's a sister. It's a best friend. It's a job opportunity. It's the way that you move through the world. It's an illness. It's whatever it is. It's gonna knock at your door.
Mm-hmm.
And so, knowing that we're in a different place, we're evolving all the time, spiral evolution, we're in a different part of that wheel, looking and from a higher perspective.
Yeah,
And
and I think that for that there can be like a moment of like, oh man, I can't believe that that's still happening, like how I've done so much work, how is that still there, And then that
yeah,
recently happened to me, and I was like, oh man, I really like worked through this, and I was around my father, and it just like sparked back up, and so then you know my partner reminded me that in those moments my awareness of it is way more, like way stronger and way deeper, and I'm actually ready to look at it in a much deeper way and like analyze where those programs of my that that have been passed on to me that I continue to carry, and and from that awareness, I think the awareness is like 90% of it, because I've had it happen where I'm like, okay, this is happening, but then there's like different deeper levels of awareness that I find uh, can be accessed, and from those spaces it can be transmuted and healed much quicker, because it's almost like I would go back into like my 16-year-old self and around my dad, and then I'd be like, "Whoa, like this isn't the frequency that I'm at now," And I had to like clear it and remind myself, and then also like really take a deeper dive into what and why I still was carrying those programs.
yeah, going deeper. There's it's an onion of belief systems that, maybe we're not ready to look at in the beginning, but now we're ready
Right.
to look at. And
Yeah, and I mean that's a great transition into theta healing, because for those that don't know what it is, can you share a little bit about it and how you found it maybe, and I know there's many levels of it, like
oh, there's an infinite amount of courses with it, but theta healing is basically working in the theta states, like in between the conscious and the subconscious mind.
hmm
Just being in that monk state, where the monks chant, and they're chanting for world peace, but anything that's not in alignment with peace is it's kind of like entity removal, right? It's like shifting the energy into peace. So when we're in theta state, we can be more, we can access more of, creator, our higher selves, the master teachers, because we're in that coherent zone.
hmm
um and you know there's many other people that speak about this state, a slower brainwave, to be able to work with that reprogramming our bodies. Reprogramming, where we use muscle testing to find out the different belief systems that we may be carrying. But in theta healing, in the beginning courses, you're learning to body scan, you're learning to see what guides or teachers are around the person. It's like tools of intuition.
hmm
They're working with the tools of intuition on through the lens of theta healing. So we're all they use a certain kind of meditation to get into that theta state, or they take the client through that state, and then they're able to, you know, to do a body scan and be able to see what's in their field, and maybe that is what comes through. I remember, for instance, it's really surrendering, because it's like, what does this client need right now? And I had a client that was, she was in a relationship where the man she was dating was cheating on his wife, and she just wanted to get closer to the wife. So she wanted to work to the boyfriend, work with love, work with receiving his love, I guess. But what was coming through was a cat. And I
Mm.
kept shooing the cat away, but I kept, asking creator, what does she need right now? Bring in whatever she needs right now. And the cat kept coming through. And I asked her if she had a cat, and she said yes, but I gave her away. And I said, why did you give her away? Because my boyfriend, every time he would come into the house, she would pee on the bed and scratch the curtains and tear up my house and meow and scream. And, she was not happy, and I couldn't work with her anymore. So when I was accessing the cat's information, what the cat wanted to let her know is, a lot of people that own cats they embody a certain type of divine feminine presence that are teachers.
Yeah.
And she was just trying to guide her to her own empowerment. And that man was really not in alignment with her spirit. And so interesting, though, even though she didn't want to really admit that this man was not good for her, she allowed the cat to come back in. And incredibly, that man never called her ever again.
Whoa.
And then, like a few months later, like I don't even think it was 2 months, where she met her soulmate. She was an opera singer, a guitarist, such a beautiful musician, and she met a musician as well.
Wow.
And now they're making music together and living with their cat in another state. And it
Wow.
was just, having to, like, what does this person need right now? uh Medical intuition comes in on the higher levels of theta healing, working with the akash. And you could train with all these things outside of theta healing, right? But their lens is going into theta state beforehand, which, all modalities have their own way to get into that coherent state. I feel like too, theta healing has its own process, and it's a beautiful modality for people that are wanting to get introduced to being more intuitive, opening that intuition, opening that trust, because you work with so many people. And as you get higher and higher up there and the teachers courses, you're working with like hundreds of people
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And it's just such good practice. We're going in and out of people's energy fields for like 30 seconds, and we're giving them a whole read on their Akashic records, on all the things. So you're really being trained. It's a good training ground, to work with your magic even stronger, whether you use theta or not. I met the most incredible people from around the world, chiropractors and doctors, healers, just regular people too. Yeah, it's something, just like people are into Reiki a lot right now, more than ever,
Mm-hmm.
like a structure that you work within to access, working with shifting energy, healing with energy. But I found layering theta with that, when I was, really focused on theta, it was Reiki was even better, because whatever blocks were inside the body, you were able to access the subconscious and blocks and move that, and then work with the energy, right? So
Yeah,
for
they
me
work
now,
really well together.
yeah, yeah.
I've found, and for me, theta, I don't do it in the traditional way that much anymore, at least not in this period of my journey. But uh, it was amazing to start to gain the awareness and to really connect to those programs and those blocks that I had either taken on from others or was passed down to me through my lineage or from society, whatever ways that. And for me, it was like the conversations I was having with myself in my head, of like, oh, hey, like maybe that's not, uh, you're not worthy of that, or you're not, this is what I would say to myself back in the day of like, oh no, like they can do that, but that's not for you. And then when I started to go in there and just like scrub all the floors and the walls of my subconscious, it was such a powerful tool for that.
Yeah, it's very powerful. It's powerful, and it's a container. It's a good container to work within, a safe container. And the more that you get, you're working with a partner, a client, and they're giving you confirmation, it's giving you that self-esteem, that esteem, that confidence to continue working, to trust your intuition and your guidance, that whatever you see there's things that I see all the time that might not make any sense to me, but it makes sense to that person.
Right.
And maybe it won't make sense to them after a week, right? I'm like, maybe a week later, they're calling me like, remember that donkey that you saw in your vision? I understand it now, and so
Right.
it awakens. It's good intuitive training.
Hmm.
Yeah, to really trust that part of your intuition so you can work deeper with clients, that you're trusting yourself and you can work with yourself. And when triggers come up, you can work with your own self. Although people are like, why don't you just work on yourself all the time? I do, but just that Carolyn Mice says, she's a great teacher of this planet. She says, to get into the darkest points of your subconscious, you need an escort, or else you would have already
Mm.
done that. There's so many other programs in place to keep you safe, that you want to go into those deeper realms with an escort, with somebody that can access those places for you, ask you the right questions, take you on that journey that you feel safe and supported, and then work through those realms and access the new, you know, the new programs or light codes or neural pathways, the the new ways that you want to walk on this planet.
Yeah, I think it makes me think of blind spots. I think we all have them, and we have these protective mechanisms to that have served for whatever reason, like whether we may block out thoughts or have like a program of running or dissociating in different ways, right? And I think that when somebody has the awareness and has done a lot of work on themselves, they can see those blind spots and be able to highlight them for us when we're ready to look at it, you
When we're
know?
ready, yeah, exactly. I always call in whatever this person's ready for, let it be shown. And mm, there's things that I've seen for people that are coming in for them to heal, and they're just not ready to look at
Right.
too. So you have to honor that person's place, you
That's
know.
been a big lesson for me the last couple of weeks with certain friends that have been asking for guidance and assistance, and I've had to just I've had to just accept that maybe they're not ready to look at it and to go there right now, and that's been a big lesson for me because uh,
Yeah, it's letting go,
mhm,
and everybody has their path and their journey. And before, I felt like I was giving away my light and being depleted in the process. And I share with others, it's like, now we're creating this enormous light in your field. You're working with higher realms of consciousness. You don't need to give your light away. You are a reflection of light, and let that be an inspiration to spark that person into their own path. And that's all we can do.
right. Yeah, I love that perspective. I like being being like the space holder, because at the end of the day, the healer is just holding a frequency and holding a container. The person has to do the actual healing themselves.
Yeah, And when you're in the place of the healer, that container is a higher, usually people choose someone that could hold a container on a higher level so they can rise themselves up to their level within them, that the, shaman, the healer, the alchemist is holding, therapist is holding for them. So it's like holding that container that they're able to rise up to.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we had a couple more topics here. I'm really curious about the alchemical wheel and then entity removal. Can you talk a little bit about what the alchemical wheel is, how it works, and how people can tap into it?
So I think I did speak about it a little bit about, in the Temescal or the Sweat Lodge, many different traditions use this alchemical wheel. So even in the Native American, South American lodges, they're using the medicine wheel, but some, use different colors and different symbolisms, and they start with different doors, like the East or the West. So East or the South is most common. And so even in those medicine wheels and how they work with that medicine may differ from tribe to tribe to tribe, like to earth people to earth people. And even in Russia, right, or different spiritual traditions of the shamans of different parts of the world, they might use these the ways of alchemy. And so when we work with the East, and that's where I start, is that rebirth.
Hmm.
It's new life, it's a rising sun. We're facing that rising sun. And it's like, we've went through all the different elements, and now we're in this rebirth stage, like an infant. And then we're walking to the wheel of the South, which is fire, sacred anger, passion, kundalini rising. It's the high noon sun, it's creation at its fullest, it's intuition heightened, and passion. And so it's like when we're in that creativity, we're feeling amazing. Also could arise when we're out of alignment, that being burned by the fire, anger, rage, not being able to be present with what's there.
Hmm.
And then we work with the lodge door, the West, which is represented by the bear, going into the cave, permission to rest, permission to take a sacred pause. And that's the death door. So dying to old parts of ourselves and um, allowing that process to work, because we want to speed up all these like really hard places, right? The shadow work stuff
Hmm.
until we're ready. And then the north is the ancestor realms. And we're working with these ancestors who are guiding us and walking with us and showing us the way, and learning how to embody that on our walk as wisdom, you know. So it's like collecting the virtues. So all the things, the struggles along that wheel of creation, we hit blocks, we hit triggers, we hit, you know, all the different deep emotions and shadow work. But if we're really working and being present and we sit with the north, like, how come I, experienced cancer? Why was cancer? What was cancer teaching me? What were the virtues of that divorce? Maybe I learned, to be more sovereign within myself. Maybe it awakened my voice and I'm able to speak for myself. Maybe it created a new way of working with my boundaries so I don't leak energy anymore. And those relationships in my life no longer serve me, and calling in new ones. So you're accessing wisdom.
Hmm.
You're accessing it's almost like we're here on Earth School. We're here to be triggered. We're here to be challenged. We're the diamond in the rough. And if we're only the victim in it all, we never get to see the higher vision. And
Right.
a lot of people are calling out victim right now on this planet, but we have perpetrator, victim in all of us.
Hmm.
So we're the perpetrator to our own selves. We knock ourselves hard. We're the hardest judges. We, keep ourselves from living on purpose and passion, because we have to fit in. That's also part of us. So we're working on
Sabotage, right?
how do we see those challenges on a higher perspective, taking the
Right.
wisdom of we've learned. So now we go to into that the bridge of the ancestral realms, walking with wisdom and rebirth. We're able to rebirth with new awareness on the higher level, on the wheel of consciousness, like we're upgraded now. We're able to really go through authentic rebirth.
Hmm.
And that's what I keep speaking about a lot, is that a lot of people skip through the wheel. They're not really being authentic.
Right.
And so that's a really big thing, even more than unconditional love, is like, if we can express our authenticity and unapologetically and live on purpose and passion and connect to our higher self and our light, we feel that guidance and support. That's what life is about, but we need to have our eyes wide open when we're going through those death doors, when we're walking through the fire.
There's a huge liberation in that, to becoming authentic.
Yeah.
It's
Taking the face
like,
off.
yeah, it's like take the mask off and just be yourself. And then I've found for myself, it's like, oh, but what if I lose these friends? What if I, you know, don't resonate or vibe with these people? If I, back in the day when I was like still really stepping into my authentic self, and I remember just being like, you know what, like it's okay. That's part of the journey, is people falling away, and then other people come that are way more aligned, that are way
Yeah.
like like so supportive and so loving, versus like somebody who was there to that I was okay with, and they were like making fun of me or treating me a certain way or being
That you
really,
settled for.
yeah, I just settled for it because it was, this person was part of the crew, and
And it's like because the settling is almost, maybe it could be ancestral. Like we have to believe that there's another, that we can access even more support and more love, and we don't need to drain our energy to be liked or loved or included.
yeah, and the beauty is that the friendships that come out of that, and the depth of connection with friends and relationships and teachers and people, it's just on a totally different level when we can just be truly ourselves and just stop the BS and stop the lying to ourselves.
They can see you, they can hear you, they might not agree with you, but there's respect.
Right, right. And some of them might be able to feel you on a deeper level even.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really liberating experience, and I encourage everyone to lean into that, because it's really been extraordinarily liberating for me in so many ways. And so the question that arises is there any difference between the medicine wheel and the alchemical wheel?
Well, that's alchemy, working through the elements.
Okay.
Um, so it's all in the same to me. It's an
Okay.
alchemical process.
Okay.
Um,
And then
yeah.
how are power animals uh, involved in this?
So as I'm just really connected to receiving what is needed in the moment, but the power animals, or the animals on the station, like the east, we call in the eagle and condor and hummingbird. And I really love the eagle and condor prophecy, where they say the Hopi tribe elder has spoken, and I think that even South American Peru have the same prophecy, is that when the eagle and the condor fly wingtip to wingtip, all peace on earth will prevail. And the eagle represents the mind and the north, where we're at now, the south, the heart. And it's really not the thinking mind, it's the higher mind and heart in coherence, flying wingtip to wingtip, our brothers and sisters are exchanging medicine right now, right? We're exchanging technology with the South. The South is exchanging medicine of the heart with the North, and vice versa. And so we are really just using brothers and sisters medicine across the nations, across the globes, across the tribes, to come into more harmony with coherence within ourselves and with the earth and how we walk. So that east door is calling in that coherence. The hummingbird represents, in Peru, it's, it's the only one that flies within the lower world, middle world, and higher worlds. So she accesses all the worlds. And that's why a lot of people, when they see hummingbirds, the spirit of our families could come through, right? With a hummingbird. Our lodge is Spirit of the Children. She's called Corazon Colibri. And our child on another realm that didn't make it through in body, but she still is a guide up there, came through when we were being initiated, and we spoke that it's the heart of the children that are guiding this lodge. And so the hummingbird also represents that spirit of innocence and child and play, which a lot of us lose sight of when we're in like big trauma. We forget to play and be childlike. We are adulting too much and we're not having fun. And so I've been to so many lodges where it's like the eagle, that's the energy of the lodge, or the weedy, the fire, or different, they all have different main guides to the lodge, and ours is the spirit of the children. And so that's what we call in for the east: rebirth, new beginnings. And the south, we call in the dolphin because of the intuition.
I love that.
And the snake for kundalini. And whatever animal wants to show up for the purpose of the group that is showing up, we'll call in. The bear representing the death door, the west. And interestingly, the bear always shows up. So it maybe because I live in California and the bear is very prominent here, the energy of that medicine is a great teacher.
Yeah.
And for the north, the white buffalo woman, the white eagle, the white owl, sorry. Great teachers of the north, and whatever spirit guide wants to show up for that ceremony, whether it be a sweat lodge or not, it'll show up. So it'll be spoken. I also call in before the elements creator, Mother Earth, the elements, or sacred self. And so working with the wheel and clients, we're just working with whatever station they might be at, whatever door they're at, and what arises. And we work with ceremony, work with the fire, we work with the water, we work with the earth and flowers and altars. And that it's just like the beauty that comes through those ceremonies are so potent. And it's just all guided, and they're able to really access that part of their psyche where they could connect to that beauty, to connect to that fire, connect to that remembrance, maybe later every day or in their own meditation.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I love the way you explain that. And I've been to people's homes and different centers where they actually will put the medicine wheel, like they'll build one on the ground. Have you ever
Hey, what?
worked? They build the medicine wheel on the ground.
Oh yeah, we have a medicine wheel that is about this big, and then we have a prayer bundles that we use for each. That's for the lodge though. And when we work in ceremonies, we'll work with the different elements in the medicine wheel and create like almost like mandalas or little altars. So, but they're not permanent. So it looks different every time. And we're calling different elements for the altars. It could be different plants, herbs, flowers, always different. So it's ever changing.
I'm really curious. This question's wanting to come through. Have you ever incorporated the dragon energy into any of this? Like, and does it?
The
Yeah,
dragon
that's
energy comes through my son.
okay.
He's 12, and so when it was ready to be called in, he brought it in. He's always working in these realms, whether he knows it or not. And so yeah, that is called in
Okay.
too, because that's all new codes of remembrance for us.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because when you're in the lodge, a lot of times the stones, the grandfathers and grandmothers will show me uh, different animals in the stones when they're lit
Oh
up,
yeah.
and a lot of times I'll see dragon heads in there, and that's one of my medicines is the dragon, uh, and so yeah, I was just curious about that. Like when you call the dragon energy in with your son, what do you what can you share any experiences you've had with that?
the, the dragon energy is like what's wanting to anchor humanity right now. It's like these huge energy forces, these allies. Um, but I feel like when they come in, they morph into their own collective of different teachers.
Mm,
Yeah. Um, I know it's an egregore or one consciousness connected, but I see different. It's almost like Avatar, right? When they're riding different dragons.
mm-hmm,
So there might be one that's connected to water or one to fire. So it's
mm-hmm,
interesting to work with them. They're still teaching me all the time. They come into different forms, different shapes, different sizes, different colors, and they work with different elements. So it's like a whole set of different master teachers coming in and
oh
just,
yeah. Yeah, I just think like I just got the land in Maine. I found the land gifted me a new staff and it has a very clear dragon head on it. And so that's like the wood, the earth dragon, right? Then there's the water dragon,
oh yeah.
and then there's the fire dragon, which comes in different experiences like the lodge and different things. So yeah, I'm really exploring that energy because it's not what some people believe as like these
No, I don't
negative
read about
beings.
it. I don't look up any information on it. I'm just allowing it to show.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not totally new, but I feel like I'm still in the East store with it.
Mm,
Some of them are a little bit more uh developed for me than others, but it's like, oh wow, it's almost like when I worked with Mother Mary, Magdalene, or Jesus or Michael.
hmm.
Um, as I evolve, they show themselves differently to me.
Yeah.
And maybe they were like in a physical form and now they're in light,
Hmm.
right? So I feel as if as we evolve, those beings evolve with us, of course, like Mother Earth as well. And so I'm just sitting with them as they come in and exploring that as you are.
Hmm.
Um, and it's like a mystery. I like to sit in the mystery of unfolding for me. What is it for me? And if they show up for clients, it's very clear for them. But it's almost like meeting new master teachers. And when we meet new master teachers, there's a whole relationship you're establishing, right? And
Yeah.
so it's this relationship that's unraveling. And a lot of times I just get the codes
Hmm.
that they're transmitting or that I'm able to receive at the moment. I feel there's a lot more.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a really big energy, and for me, it's it's uh it's like represents empowerment, like stepping into my greatness and into my power. It's also a representation of like the the wisdom keepers of the
Yeah.
planet and
The,
like the
yeah.
the ones that held the highest level of mastery and wisdom in on the earth during the reptilian era, you know, and I believe that they were around then, and that they uh, come in to certain people at different times
At the
with,
right time.
yeah, with like from another dimension, but also like to
For
remind
sure.
us of what was and what will be.
Yeah. And it's also I work with the law of nature, and I asked the law of nature once. I was able to shift the rain or the winds for a certain situation. That's another story. And I asked the next day, how come I was able to literally, it was pouring rain, and just work with the law of nature to open up right above the area where we were in so we could perform our ceremony, and only over the mission that we were working within. And then when we were done, it like started to rain again. And I asked the next day, how come I was able to do that? Because I've seen the Mayans do it, our teachers do it. And like being present with that. And they told me, because you don't abuse it.
Hmm.
And so sometimes we're accessing these energies like the dragons, where we're embodying this power, but it's a dance between, are you going to use it with reverence?
Right.
And the dragons really are, I feel, test us with that power. And I'm getting goosebumps all over my body. It's like, I want to see you walk with just the beginning stages of this energy to see if you're going to abuse this energy.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think certain people just naturally are connected to it through their lineage. And uh, like I have a direct descendants to, from my mother's line, to the czars and the kings of Russia.
Mm.
And so I believe that a lot of these people that were in these positions of leadership around the world, doesn't matter where, uh, some of them carry that energy, and it like got passed down to them somehow through different lineages.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And you don't know what past lives or future lives you've lived.
Hmm.
That's what we're doing. And this awakening stages that we're in, we're like bringing in the gifts of our past lives to the present moment, or future lives to the present moment, in a much more evolved way. So a lot of, like myself, I recognize myself in so many different lives, as the witch, as the shaman, as the in poverty and richness,
Hmm.
and different, so many different glimpses of lives. And
Yeah.
healing those lives and taking the best, taking the virtues, walking with wisdom, and integrating that into my life.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a good time to transition into the final topic here, which would be, I've asked a few guests before, but um, what have been some of the most effective ways that you've found to work with entities and different spirits that may not be serving our highest, or maybe trickster spirits, or spirits that are just trying to like mess with us?
I use a combination of commands. I also start with, so it's a complicated thing to share with you now, but I gauge, actually ask.
Oh, I lost your volume there. I lost it. We can't hear you.
um
That was so interesting. We lost your
can't hear
volume.
me.
We can hear you now, but we lost your volume when you
Oh,
started talking
okay.
about it. Maybe it's not meant for the podcast right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever you were saying was completely just blurred, like went quiet for a minute.
Okay. um So I use a specific questions to see what sort of things are, lingering, what consciousness level either I'm at, or if I'm carrying anything, say I go into a bar or a dance party and I leave with stuff. I'm always, I gauge it through dowsing or muscle testing or just tuning in. And I clear with either commands that I say all the time, and then just call in that higher self, call in the beings of light, call in the guardians of my temple, my council of 12, the temple space here as guardians too. But I work with dowsing tools. So when I'm clearing, I'm working with counterclockwise, and when I'm kind of like up leveling or raising the field, sealing the field of myself or the property or wherever I'm working with the pendulum in a clockwise position. So it's a series of different things, but I'm also tapping into source, and I see things and I'm guided. So I could teach people how to do this, but it's a little complicated because I've added things that on my journey that I feel that is needed at this time. But for people, you could listen to monk chants. There's guttural. Tibetan monks get into Epsom salt baths, use sacred intention to clear things out. Every night, do a little bit of sage. I use rose water to raise my energy field as guardians of my sleep. I'll wake up, I call in my light, call in that healed version of self, my guardians, council of 12. So it's like constantly, keeping that connection to light is really important.
And then are you building any energetic grids or any energetic protection around yourself and the space?
I use the sacred fire a lot. I do light a lot of fires and use alchemy with like Saint Germain or the violet flame, and the guardians for myself. So I do have certain commands that I use with the fire when it's needed. Like if there are heavy things to lift, people are calling me to work on their property or whatever, I could bring in that element, but I actually don't have to. I could do it remotely. And it's also if you're removing entities from people, this is the thing to remember. I was working on someone that's an alcoholic and they had 200 entity attachments, right? It could be
Whoa.
negative spirit guides, it could be entities, whatever. I could clear them out. And then I measured about an hour later and maybe like 75 were back.
Whoa.
Does that make sense? So if you're not working on your light, if you're not working on your auric field, there's tears and there's holes when you're in abuse and in darkness and in mental, negative states of mind, and you're permeable. A lot of people are permeable right now.
Right.
They're walking into a bar and they come out and all of a sudden they have attachments. It's that easy,
Yeah.
You're going into an ayahuasca journey, for instance, and the medicine man's not working in the inner in the invisible realms, clearing space, enough for people to be in their own journey. Sometimes I've seen people walk away with more entities than they walked in with, and it caused trauma for them.
Yeah.
So things like that, keeping yourself as clean as possible through living foods, through purified living waters, through working with herbs and plant medicines and prayers. People come into my house. I always program my house when people come in to feel community and harmony and peace and joy. So it's a good practice. Like anybody stepping into my house, I'm clearing this field and inviting a new energy. It's not a new energy, but just like reinforcing that love and light, harmony, friendship, communication, respect. So when people feel it, it's almost like they come into this consciousness and they feel that I've built this, I've worked in harmony with the guardians of this land to anchor in that energy.
Absolutely.
It's really important. People feel it and people feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I find that, you know, sometimes I need like a logical or like a physical um, example for my mind to like really click in that this is real. And I put up energetic protection all the time and around my space every night and so on and so forth. And I
Yeah, you can
remember,
literally just like ask your higher self, source, your guardians, and like imagine you're cutting a cord with, obsidian wand or a crystal wand. You're cutting those cords of a relationship. And those are really handy tools. Like, I'm releasing you in love and bringing more of me back in.
right,
And people feel it when there's cord cuts. Say relationship, old relationships, even if it's been years, we cut the cords in a ceremony or whatever. And what happens is those people tend to call them or text them. They're feeling an emptiness.
right.
So whatever you're feeling for that person, even if it's 10 years ago, now they don't have it for themselves anymore. You called back your power. They're feeling empty. And the only person that they know that gave them that power, even if they don't realize consciously what it is, they call them. They
Hmm.
text them. How are you? I'm thinking about you. It's really interesting.
It's super interesting. Yeah, I've had that experience many times. And I wanted to ask you what I've found that there's a difference between cord removal and cord cutting.
Well, you could cut the cord and not work with your subconscious, unconscious beliefs that attracted the cord in the first place.
Right.
Maybe that's the distinction,
Yeah.
because you could remove the entities all you want, but if you don't stop drinking and calling in that darkness into your field, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter. And so it's kind of the same thing. Cut them all you want, but work with the belief systems that attracted you to plug into that person and for you to give your power away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's big. That's big. It's like you can remove the cord, but if you just go right back to the same mindset, you're just reopening the cord again.
Yeah. But, it's helpful to see that, oh my gosh, I could feel that energy still here, even though I've cut the cord so many times. Maybe I have to work deeper with this situation.
Right. What is it inside self that's wanting to stay connected to that? Like, what is it that is like craving or desiring that, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that's important for people to hear. And what I was mentioning earlier is like when the energetic protection I was on a mushroom ceremony in a mushroom ceremony, and I actually saw like the film of the protection energy
Mm.
when I was on the medicine, and I was like, oh wow, okay, so this really is working, and it's
The mushroom itself.
what was that?
You said you saw a protection film of the mushroom.
No, no, like the protection that I had created energetically.
Oh, that you created yourself
Right, yeah, like I
with
saw it.
your guardians. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that was that logical part of me that was like, okay, this is really
It's
actually
real.
working. Yeah, it's real.
I feel as we go into anyone's space, we always have to call in our own guardians and higher self as, I say, not as protectors, but more as guardians, right? Like guarding the space, guarding our inner temple, our consciousness. And, anything that is out of alignment with love, it just bounces off,
Yep.
bounces off of us. And so anything out of alignment with love, if your consciousness is out of alignment with love, like we're just transmuting that and calling in the higher imprints of love and light and authenticity. And during the ceremonies like that where you're surrendering, it's calling in that. I always hug my inner child and I tell her, I'm taking care of this. You could just let go.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of this. You could just, there's no fear. I know what I'm doing, and it's set those set those prayers for myself before going in. And it's a
Absolutely.
really powerful container.
For sure. Yeah, well, Yve, it's been such an honor to have you on today. Thank you for all the amazing teachings and all the amazing topics we covered. And you're always welcome back onto the podcast anytime. And
Thank you, Peter.
I'd love to do another episode with you in the future.
Oh, I would love to. And this time without Leo. He's
Leo's so awesome.
he's been like, he even started playing the sound bowl a few times. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
wow.
And he broke
Yeah,
my pendulum, and he just created a lot of little chaos because he wants my attention. So it
yeah.
was so nice to be on these topics with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Until next time, Yve, thank you.
Okay,
Take
bye.
care.